He has phoned a friend and it's Peter Dutton. He said this is Dutton, in his budget reply speech last May.
We will implement a 2-year ban on foreign investors and temporary residents purchasing existing homes in Australia.
And it's a plan that's found support with 69% of Australians in a poll last month. So Housing Minister Claire O'Neil was talking to Andrew Clennell here this morning and she said this.
Today, the government's announcing that we are going to ban foreign ownership of existing property in Australia. This is an important move. It's not a silver bullet to the housing crisis because there is no silver bullet.
Good on them for jumping on board with a common sense policy, but should they perhaps think about getting a few of their own? And they've rehashed another coalition policy today. They announced that they'd struck a deal with Nauru to resettle 3 members of the infamous NZYQ foreign criminal cohort. Everything old is new again, Evelyn. And it would seem they're like, OK, we've got to get something out of the grab bag, Oh, here's a popular policy that the coalition wants. We'll just neutralise it and say we'll do it as well. That's all good and well, but if Albanese's going to go to an election saying, I'm Peter Dutton with a different face, it'll be an interesting election.
They're honestly limp-wristed parodies of each other, aren't they? But this is the sad state of our country when you have the 2 major political parties just parodying what the other one's saying. And this is the problem with Australian politics. Like, at least in America or in other countries, there's a clear distinction. If you vote for this is what you're going to get. This is the policies. This is how we're going to enact change. And if you vote this, same thing. Over here, it's like you're basically getting the same thing. Nothing's original. We're lacking for ideas. I would even go that this is another fail from the Liberal Party because 2 years is just not enough, especially when there's a cost of living crisis. There's a housing crisis. You're laughing, Joe, but you might be a bit well off than other of us poor bludgers who struggle to make ends meet.
No, it's not that at all.
But it's true though, because this is where we need to put Australians first. I don't want my children, I guarantee you people at home don't want their children to not only have to, go toe-to-toe with fellow Australians, but to go toe-to-toe with the world about getting a house. And it's simple.
And our property prices are through the roof. But it is such a common sense thing, Lucy, that why did it take the coalition bringing it up for the government that has been in power for nearly 3 years to say that they would also do it?
I agree. And look, it's not as though the data on property prices, etc., and foreign investment doesn't exist, OK? And this is the point that needs to be made. Data from the ATO showed foreign buyers made 5,360 purchases worth $4.9 billion in the 2022-2023 financial year, with most coming from China, Hong Kong and India. At the end of 2023, reports emerged that foreign buyer activity was at a 5.5-year high in the new builds sector of the Aussie property market. The data was there, right? The Labor Party saw what was happening and they saw that Australians were starting to really struggle to get into the housing market and they didn't put a stop on it then. Where was their sense of being proactive, of getting on top of it then and not waiting for the coalition to come up with a plan to address this issue
worried about
and then piggybacking off it and trying to claim it as their own?
We'll let the punching bag answer the question.
So investment in new builds is exactly what we want. That is what the economy wants and that is what the government wants and that is what everyone wants because that creates
from
demand.
Foreigners that arrive to an auction and pay stupid amounts of money for a property that doesn't warrant it.
No, but this policy does not apply to new builds. This only applies to existing properties. And the only and already there is a ban. I think Peter Costello put it in. There is a ban on anyone buying a property from overseas. The only way you can buy an existing home in Australia as a foreign officer is if you are a temporary resident in Australia.
This is foreign buyer activity.
So you have to be, yes, but you have to be a resident in Australia. So you are not a citizen, but you are a resident in Australia and you then buy the home. And what this has enabled people to do is you have, Chinese families or Indian families or whatever it may be who have students studying here. They're on a 3-year visa. And they're not leaning on them. No, the mum and dad are using them as a vehicle to invest. So they're using the student, their kid, as a Trojan horse to get in onto the property market because otherwise it is banned. So it's not people doing it from overseas. So that is the loophole that is being closed, and they're already...
They are doing it from overseas.
They are doing it from overseas.
They just got someone here to do their bidding.
Of course, you just said they're the Trojan horse.
Yes, but You have to be a temporary resident in Australia to be able to buy an existing residential property.
Do you
right?
think they should be allowed to buy that property though?
No. That's why they're closing the loophole.
Yeah, they've been using it to speculate.
That's right. They've already cracked down on it.
That's right.
So they cracked down on it, and then there was a loophole that opened up where people say, "But hang on, if you're resident in Australia, even on a temporary, 3-year visa or whatever it might be, you can still buy a house." And that is what it has taken the coalition, after a decade in power where they did absolutely nothing about it, incidentally, to then come and say that they're going to do it. So this is not, and again, you talk about
You're saying it's not a Labor issue. You're saying the problem was there before.
That's actually probably a fair point. It's existed for a long time.
Why did it take so long then for Labor to
I don't know.
address it?
You guys were in for 10 years and did nothing.
Well, guys, hang on. I've been put in charge of anything. And they do it as well with commercial property. I could take you. I mean, I don't know about Sydney, but I can walk you around Adelaide, the CBD, Kel, very quickly, and I can point out all the buildings that are owned by Chinese investors, quote unquote. You've got a student going to the University of Adelaide, and they're just sitting there going to rack and ruin, but they don't care because it's just given them a foothold in the market, and they'll wait until the land goes up in value and then sell it.